Yo, what's going on, guys? And today we'll be talking about the mental block that Klay Thompson addressed. And if you guys haven't seen it, basically Klay Thompson came out and I guess it was via Anthony Slater. And Klay Thompson didn't play pickup this summer, and he called it a mental block. He will eventually get over because of the torn ACL. Not my apology, torn Achilles. He suffered a few years back in summer ball, but that's slowed his preseason ramp up. He called next week a big week as he revs back up for the regular season, and you'll see some of the video of him explaining it. And I really like that he came out and said this, and I like that a lot of athletes are coming out in mental health. I'm somebody who doesn't really suffer from mental health. I'm one of those people who, like, if I ever feel sad, I stop being sad and I get happy. I just go work out. I do stuff to keep myself busy, and I think it's a great thing. Like, people don't realize how big, injuries are a mental block. I suffered a hip flexor playing basketball last year, and I was out for a month or two. And when I started picking up basketball again, it was something that I was fearful, when I would go full go, especially on defense, when, as someone who I take pride in defense, moving, when I would swing my hips, I would get hit. I felt fearful that I was going to have a hip flexor again, or even after, I would be sore in my hip flexor and I would be fearful. And this is something that I think it's really good that he's talking about, and he, is, honest about what's going on. And I think this is something that, look, let's talk about the good part about this. He's going to be fine. I have no worry about Klay Thompson. But what's the benefit of Klay Thompson being out? Is it gets us to look at the young guys. First off, we saw James Wiseman. It was amazing, okay? And with no Klay there, we also, Andre Iguodala isn't going to be playing because Andre Iguodala has came out and said they're laying out a cautious plan that'll better limit his usage early in the season compared to a year ago. Like, Iguodala will practice and get dressed for games, but he's not going to enter. And the medical staff has decided that it's best to hold out Klay Thompson, who has been full participant in practice and scrimmages, but will probably be treated a bit more carefully than Steph Curry or Draymond Green because of his recent injury history. And the Warriors aren't having Thompson appear in a preseason game until after the return from Japan and having a full training camp, week after the following week. So the earliest you will see him is October 9th. And Kerr said he's not quite ready to play. It's just common sense coming off of 2 years of injury. This is really unique to play a game after 3.5 practices, and they're just being cautious. And like I said, what's the benefit of this? We got to see Patrick Baldwin Jr., and he stood out again, stood out the most compared to Ryan. I mean, Ryan Rollins was nice. I like Ryan Rollins, but I think out of the young guys, besides James Wiseman, Patrick Ball came in, he entered the middle of the third quarter long after the veterans had basically unlaced their shoes. And on his second possession, the 6'10" wing lined up for a catch and shoot set up by his fellow rookie, Ryan Rollins. And Baldwin missed his only other deep attempt, and he made both of his free throw, but the jumper just looks like pure poetry. It's a really good. And with Baldwin, if you looked at his college tape, his lateral movement was concerning, and his combine drills were enough of an athletic red flag to drag his draft value down to basically, borderline second round pick. And his lateral movement looked good. The Warriors bet that his persistent ankle trouble was the reason for that, and the movement would come back to life. And this summer, they spent him getting physically ready as possible, and he looked a lot more fluid athletically. And I think this is an example where we saw Baldwin being used as a small ball center, and they were seeing how the Wizards would attack him in space, and they would use Daniel Gafford to set a screen, but Baldwin would recognize it and switch the attack on the action quickly, staying in front of Johnny Davis, leading to a steal. And I thought that was a really good thing that he did. And we also got to see Moody. Moses Moody was the first sub off the bench, and he was used purposely in a varying different combinations that included Curry, Green, Wiggins, Kevon Looney, and Moses Moody. And it became clear that Moody is being promoted to a feature role within this rotation. And Kerr was even complimentary with his comments at the post game, mentioning a jump ball Moody forced, tying up Monte Morris in the corner and diving on the floor. And it wasn't all perfect for Moody, okay? He was late to recognize an open cutting lane in the second corner, and Green signaled for him to make the cut and threw it despite his tardiness. And then he, bitched at Moody for the turnover, saying, "Come on, Mo." And this is good because the veterans are aware of how important of a piece Moses Moody is becoming and are instructing him accordingly. And Moody played 25 minutes, Kuminga played 26, Wiseman played 24, and they led the team. And we know Kuminga had a few decent moments as he muscled his way to the free throw line 6 times and made 4 of them, but he was stagnant with the ball in his hands he's figuring out. He looked good when he played for the Congo this past year, this past offseason in international basketball. And again, this Klay Thompson injury is opening up minutes to see these young guys even more in preseason basketball. And again, it's preseason basketball, so take it with a grain of salt. But the second quarter lineup that Kerr use could be the second Jordan Poole, Dante DiVincenzo, Jonathan Kuminga, Michael Green, and James Wiseman. And Dante DiVincenzo in 17 minutes had 7 rebounds. Okay, and people in the organization have said they love his rebounding, especially from the guard spot, as an under the radar boost that it's going to be good. So I want to hear your thoughts. Did I miss anything? That's basically it.